want to back up a little bit to the very beginning, Alisa, when you said, there's a lot of people that say they're just not ready to, fully step into their power. So in your experience, what happens when people try to manage or soften or dilute their power instead of fully embodying it?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a great question.
Yeah, I think what's interesting, and I think we've slow cooked, like it's all in preparation for 2026. And that's just my connection with Source, with God. That's the download that I've been given, is like, this is all preparation for what's happening, and the beginning is now. And we're talking the next 8 to 10 years are the foundation for what's literally going to be different. Like, kind of like the industrial age, when everything changed from the industrial age, this internal coming home to self and stepping into our gifts and then expanding those gifts are what we are doing as humans.
Welcome to I Am Her. We're all about glitter, grit, and grace. This is The Shift, where spiritual meets spicy, F-bombs meet forgiveness, and shadow work occasionally throws glitter.
Welcome, everyone, to I Am Her, Season 2, Episode number 4. Season 2, Episode 4. That's incredible. So excited. So, I am Emmy.
And I'm Thylene.
And we're so glad you are here. And we have such a special guest with us tonight. She's been with us before, but we're going to talk about a completely different topic tonight. And I'm just so excited. So, without further ado, we're just going to dive right in. So, first of all, today's episode is going to be released on the Lunar New Year, as we step into the year of the fire horse. And this is a year marked by momentum, truth, embodiment, and unapologetic forward movement. Fire horse energy doesn't whisper, and it doesn't wait for permission. So I'm so excited to introduce everybody to AlisaAnn. She is an oracle of embodied freedom. She's an entrepreneur and CEO with nearly 40 years of experience building traditional and team-based businesses across both brick and mortar and online spaces. She has spent decades leading, scaling, selling, and reinventing businesses, movements, and identities while guiding thousands through profound transitions of grief, leadership, power, and purpose. Having created over $40 million in gross revenue, AlisaAnn has curated systems that help others step fully into their gifts while creating sustainable and scalable wealth. She doesn't teach theory, she transmits earned wisdom. And her work is shaped by lived entrepreneurial leadership, the death and rebirth of identity through profound loss, global facilitation and embodiment work, emotional mastery, and a grounded, non-bypassing approach to sovereignty and freedom. So welcome, Alisa. We're so glad you're here with us.
So excited.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here again. I just feel very honored that you guys have welcomed me back, and especially on this beautiful day. I'm so excited.
Yes, this is definitely your wheelhouse, and we're just so glad that you're the one to be here on the first day of the year of the fire horse. So let's get right to the questions. All right, Thylene.
First question for you, Alisa. We're releasing this episode on the Lunar New Year, stepping into the year of the fire horse. And for those who may not be familiar, what does the fire horse represent energetically, especially for women leaders and creators?
I want to talk a little bit about what we just got done with, and that was the year of the snake. I think that's the most important preface going into the fire horse, is that we've let go and released and surrendered everything is not coming with us in this fire horse year. And I don't know about you. Actually, I do know about the two of you guys, but for those watching, I don't know how you, but raise both hands or multiple hands of how 2025 definitely either you felt like things got taken from you. Yeah, exactly. Or you released, but if you were like at all holding on, it was so painful letting go. And so if there's anything that the death of my husband taught me is how to surrender. Like up until that point, I think I would have never, like, surrender was not on my list of skill sets at all. Like it was like, surrender? No, that means I lost. Oh, hell no. So I think the year of the snake taught us all how important it is to surrender so that it leaves space for the new. And so that is what is coming in for the Fire Horse year, and especially for women that are stepping into their gifts and really giving to the collective in a way of internal ascension first for themselves, and then they're being called to raise the frequency of humanity. And that's what I believe the Fire Horse is really representing. And I do want to invite men. Like I think men are showing up as well. Just the women had to go first. And so I have seen in my spaces some men that are really starting to step into leadership of this new world that we're creating. But a lot of women are really, I call it like at the gate. You're at the gate, you're on your horse, like in the races. And a lot of us are at the gate and we're guiding others to get to the gate as well.
That's so like profound. Can you explain maybe more in depth because we definitely have a very big mix of people who do listen to our show and watch it. For those people who are baby stepping, can you give a little bit more definition around what specifically, like we just talked about the snake, right? And how you've released things and how that was really painful and like unexpected things happen. But like, what are we walking into? Like, what does this mean for us as a whole and a collective? And for those people who may not understand what collective actually means, because we speak in our terms that we all understand. You know what I mean?
So you got a cup and it's full. There's no space for anything else. So you have to dump a little bit of the cup out in order to add in new. And so those of us that have been releasing, whether we're holding on or not, it doesn't matter, it's happening. And what we're stepping into is what is coming into that space, what's coming into that capacity. And what it is in the Fire Horse here, in my opinion, is you see the horrible atrocities that are happening in the world right now. That is the world burning down, in my opinion. Like, they're not acceptable anymore. We all know it. We just don't know necessarily how to confront it and dismantle it. It's happening for us, not to us, for us. While we're over here, and when I say we, there's many of us that are over building this new world. And when I was first told about this, I thought it was going to be like this scary, like, oh my gosh, like a new world and an old world. But you see it happening right now. People are being called in to reinvent the medical system, reinvent education. Like, it's not necessarily like these people over here in the old world and they're dying, and now we're over here, living in this new world. No, it's like it's happening all at once. And so stepping into the Fire Horse, I guess, in a way that if I was talking to myself before David died, it's expansion. The year of the snake was about letting go so that you have more space, so that you can expand in what your calling is, what you're feeling intuitively of like, oh, this brings me joy. So when I talk about the collective, I mean, like, it could be expansion within your family, within your workspace, within the globe. Everyone is being called and we're all being ushered in and we're all needed. We're all needed for this old, very horrible. Now, it wasn't all bad, but it's gone kind of south pretty fast in a lot of ways that we are like blind to. And now we're seeing it for what it is. And instead of fighting it against it, we're not bypassing it. We're seeing it. We're making awareness and we're like, none of this is coming. None of this is coming where I'm going. So does that explain it?
Yeah, no, definitely. I just want people to see like not just big picture, but like a little bit more of the breakdown so that they can follow along and decide if that's something that they want to dive into or do more research on, or maybe connect with you in the future to work with you on that.
Yeah, and the Chinese calendar, I wasn't like a huge fan of it either. I would go to Chinese like dinner with my first husband and we'd look at the little thing and I knew what it worked. like that. And I was like, oh, that's cute. I'm a pig. Yeah. But since I've been feeling this intuitiveness, like, oh my gosh, I shed all of 2025. And I thought after David's death, how much more do I have to shed? Well,
Right.
I moved from a state that I've been at and lived at since I was 11 years old. That is gigantic.
Yeah.
I had no intention to move. And it didn't happen on a dime. It happened within 2024 that it was starting to build out, but the move happened in 2025. So that's one of the biggest things. So like, if you're just talking about like not woo-woo terms and the stuff that I like, now it just flows out of my mouth. It's more of like when you got divorced or you had a breakup, like you're sad about it, it's time to let it go. And then that left space for the new. It's just like that. Or your child graduates from high school. Like, this is a part of life. You have to let them go. And then what are you feeling with that space that once was held by your child? You know, it's
Right. And that's where people struggle, right? That's where people fall into, like, our last episode was on addiction. And it's like, I think that a lot of the work that you do and all of us work towards is to help people make better choices, right? Like to find purpose within the pain and grow as a human being, no matter what is in front of you. And I think that that is something that I have admired about you, is that no matter what happens to you, you are able to, it's not even just about overcoming it, because we don't do that anymore. We don't like go on the grind and bootstrap up. That's not like our motto anymore. But it's more about the acceptance and allowing yourself to feel it all, which I think is part of the new, because for however many years or generations, that's not how we've been taught to handle things, right? And so this is new. I don't know if you want to ask the next question.
Well, I want to back up a little bit to the very beginning, Alisa, when you said, there's a lot of people that say they're just not ready to, fully step into their power. So in your experience, what happens when people try to manage or soften or dilute their power instead of fully embodying it?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a great question.
Yeah, I think what's interesting, and I think we've slow cooked, like it's all in preparation for 2026. And that's just my connection with source, with God. That's the download that I've been given, is like, this is all preparation for what's happening, and the beginning is now. And we're talking the next 8 to 10 years are the foundation for what's literally going to be different. Like, kind of like the industrial age, when everything changed from the industrial age, all of a sudden now we have planes and phones and all the things. Well, AI is doing a lot of that. This internal coming home to self and stepping into our gifts and then expanding those gifts are what we are doing as humans. And so when you're gripping and you're holding on to something that cannot go forward in that expansion, I believe it will eventually happen, because we're at that kind of timeline, like that time in the worlds where before I think you could just take that path and just, live for another 20 years, kind of. I'm not saying it's wrong, but living on the path of not your highest timeline, your most joyous life that you could have. But it doesn't leave enough space. There's not enough time, enough growth, expansion capabilities when you're selling your soul to somebody else's business, an entity that's probably not going to be here in 5 years. So there's a lot that's coming down. We see it, that are not going to be here in 5 years. And it doesn't have to be woo. Those are facts. Just like the industrial age, like we don't see very many factories anymore. This is what is going to happen 10, 20 years from now. And I will probably, I'm 55. I'll definitely be old if I'm still here. But within 30 years, I'm probably not going to be here. And I will have people talk about the history that I had, where we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have computers. That'll be how we're talking about industrial age. But it's happening so fast, so fast.
That's so crazy to think about.
It is. I was actually just having a conversation with with Jody, who was our guest on our last episode, and we were discussing an idea that she had for a book, and I was telling her about my experience with writing a book, and I said back then it took me a long time because we didn't have the technology that we have right now to where you can literally write a book without even typing or writing anything, because you can just say it into the program and it types it for you. But yeah, so backing up a little bit to your response to that question, for a long time, I was stuck in the place of, I know I can do it, but I'll just do this little bit. I'll just do this little bit and I'll be okay with that. But I started to realize that there was no way I was going to be happy, because I could already see where my passion was. And I knew if I just didn't make the decision to really go all in to what I'm planning for this year, then it would take even longer for me to get there, and I would just feel stuck. And it's not always easy to shed what you're used to, because that's where you're comfortable. And when you want to stay where you're comfortable, you're not going to move forward. In my opinion, when you become comfortable, you become complacent, because you don't have the desire to move forward from there.
Yeah.
I feel like like everything that you're saying is so true, and I feel like that definitely happened to me in the sense that I got not even complacent. I knew I was meant for more, and then my soul just felt like it was like dying from day to day. And that sounds like a dramatic thing that I'm throwing out, but it's true. Like, I literally was like, what, this is it? Like, this is it. You get married, you have a job for 7 years, and you go for a raise, and then someone else beats you out, and then what? Like, this can't be it. And I'm just so grateful that it happened to me at such a young age, because I feel like so many people don't hit their wall or their ceiling, if you will, until so much later, like in their lives. And I think that that's a big passion of mine, like on this topic, is like helping people realize that sooner, because everyone, I believe, was put on this earth with a gift. And I believe that everyone has all these different gifts. And when you don't share that with the world, you're cutting off from the collective, right? From like this growth that we can have as a whole. And I think it's really sad to watch people. Now, of course, they have to, right? Alisa, you have a lot of experience with this. It's like watching people not choose, right? Watching people decide otherwise and having to allow them to have that experience for themselves, because they have to choose the path you can't choose for them, which can be really challenging.
Yeah. Well, that's where we have the freedom of choice, the freedom of free will. And I think that the force is coming in a lot more of the universe pushing people out of the nest. There's going to be a lot of job losses because of AI. And I'm looking at it like, thank God, because I too believe the same as you, that everyone is actually a sovereign being, and they have a gift and or gifts that they can actually create income streams, not just one, income streams. And then they're not tied to an entity that can fire them in a minute, or that they have to give up their entire life and sacrifice their families and their passions for a corporation. And I do think that's what's coming in. And that's what I'm so passionate about this year, is just taking all of that wisdom, and anyone that has never been an entrepreneur or has dabbled in it and has not done well. Yeah, that's kind of my superpower from being an entrepreneur for almost 40 years and in so many different means of income streams. Yeah, what I'm not great at is working for a corporation. So that's something that you're interested in. Don't work with me on that.
So you've built businesses across brick and mortar, online spaces, teams, and you're moving into global movements. What is one outdated belief that you feel about entrepreneurship that won't survive the fire horse year?
Yeah, there's a couple things. One, the belief that you have to grind and sacrifice everything. I believe that we're set up now that time is alignment. So if you really understand who you are in your authentic self, you will discover your gift. And then it's just like you're in flow. And it's interesting because flow can be used as a woo term, but I have heard so many alpha males that I've been watching, like, just as I'm scrolling, and they're talking about flow. And I'm like, what? This is awesome, because then it just makes it even more validated in a way that humans are humans. When they hear, I don't know, Tony Robbins talk about flow, or some guru dude that I don't know, I actually don't know his name, but he was not anywhere near Tony Robbins. He had an Amazon business, like that kind of business. And he was like, yeah, I'm just in a state of flow. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. The force is not it is the year of the fire horse. And you would think, oh, it's force, it's aggression, it's go. It's actually go and flow. So if you're not aligned with what brings you joy and understanding who your authentic self is, that is what will keep you from actually being a conduit for energetic fields of money. And so one of the beliefs would be that it's going to take a lot of time. You literally could have, especially now in this day and age, you could have your business set up in a day, like literally. And then as your authentic self, go on social media and just start going live. That's it. Within 30 days, I can guarantee you're going to start making some money. Now, it might not replace your six-figure income in 30 days, because I'm also not the kind of person that's going to just say, sunshine and rainbow unicorn stuff. I do think that you do have to take action, and that's what the Fire Horse year is about. But it's aligned action, not the action of the old time. And then I think force or whatnot, that is not coming forward as an entrepreneur.
Well, first off, so about what you're talking about, I feel really strongly about that, because as someone who has bit the bullet and just gone out and made really tough choices and tried to go after anything and everything that wasn't aligned and force things, this lands for me, because I also made big decisions and would let go of the job and just focus on the big decision, if that makes sense. And so what you're saying is kind of where I'm at now, where it's you don't let go your six figures before the alignment happens. You kind of let everything happen at once, as opposed to focusing so strongly on one or the other. And so everything, for me at least, that you just said makes 100% sense, because I did it the old way for so long. I'm really excited to go into this Fire Horse year and just allow things to be and not force anything. And now, that's not to say that I haven't gotten great things from force. I have. I've forced a lot of things, and I'm one of those girls. I'm I get what I want. No matter what, I'm going to get it. Right. But through everything, I've learned that once you get that forced thing, it's never enough, because you're not fulfilled because it wasn't aligned. So that's just something that came to my mind, when you were talking about all of that, is just kind of placing it in my life and realizing wow, I did force a lot of things. A lot of good things did come from it, but it just never ended because I wasn't aligned. I didn't feel fulfilled, and it wasn't my purpose. So I kept going. And then the next thing I forced and had a bunch of drama or this or that. So it's I'm really excited for this new year for everyone, not just myself, to kind of see how we go into new situations with a new mindset of, yes, we can have everything that we want, but we allow it to come to us, instead of, because how much bigger would those things have been if I just let it go and let it come to me, as opposed to, this is my one outcome and then I get that outcome. What if there was something so much bigger on the other side that I never even got, because I only had that one outcome that I went straight to.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like,
I mean, a lot of the females that I work with are recovering alpha females. And, you know, Thylene, you and I have had multiple conversations about this, that, yeah, I freaking killed it. And me too. Achieved more than most people, you know, being the age that I'm at, because of force and a forced calendar, reverse engineering, and pivoting at the expense of anything and everything. I did a really good job of staying balanced for the most part, which is something that I used to talk about all the time, like oxygen mask on, but I would take it off to go help everyone else. And then after David died, I learned how to put my oxygen mask on and keep it on permanently. And that, I think, in the space of the new world, is called like a balance of divine feminine and divine masculine. Because when I really leaned into killing off the alpha female of myself, not because of any other reason, except for after David died, I was just in self-discovery. But then I noticed so many other alpha females are getting burnt out. What's the next thing? And it's like, okay, I'm in my 50s. Like, I don't want the next thing. I want to go on my couch and relax, like go take a breather, you know, go, I don't have grandchildren, but like, you know, go hang out with my grandkids. Like, and they built a life that was amazing. However, it was built in this forced matrix, if you will. They're in what I call the messy middle. So when I talk to them, I talk exactly what you just said. I just say, you know, like, it's okay to like look back at your life and say, man, I crushed it. But you already know you can't go back to that life, especially once you've got the taste of true freedom, which is alignment, and then open for receive, and then let it come to you. Now you have multiple choices. And now you step in and you learn how to listen to your body, and you step in, lean forward, enjoy, and then your body tells you, yep, this is the way. This is the way. But the divine masculine is the action. It's the action that you take in the framework and the structure and the go, but you're in flow. And so, yeah, I think that was a great way to segue into actually what the fire horse is going to bring for everyone. And what the snake year was trying to do was just prepare you for the fire horse year, because I don't know any alpha female that I've known personally that isn't either in the messy middle now or has left the messy middle and now like figuring out what they're going to do. Not one. No one is going back to the alpha female world. Not one.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I do have like an off the cuff question for you that just came up while you were talking. So we talk a lot about the balance of divine masculine and divine feminine within self, but then there's the divine masculine and the divine feminine in relationship. Mm-hmm. And so do you have an idea what that looks like going into the fire horse? Just because I'm single, right? But there's like this balance that I have to have, because as a single person, I've gone into my masculine because that's how you survive. And I'm no longer in this survival mode. And so, but I can't let go of my masculine. I still have to have a heavy balance of my masculine feminine, because I can't just not take action. I'm just leaning into my feminine and allowing my masculine to bridge the gap, if you will. But then there are some people who are going through that with self, but are also in relationships. And I'm wondering, like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I smile because I'm single also, and I have remained single. It'll be intentionally for 2 years, coming in March, not having any relationship with anyone else intimately. And I did that intentionally because I was preparing myself for my divine partner. What I didn't realize, and what I love about your question, is that it actually starts within. So I am completely alchemized, divine feminine, divine masculine. It's not equal. It's situational. So in some situations, like when we're hosting the Cocoon Butterfly, like our first live event, which was last June, like I leaned heavily into my divine masculine because I discovered I was creating this global movement in my divine feminine, and that was not working out well for the business side of Cocoon Butterfly, because it has to actually make sense to like keep going by creating income, And so when I discovered that, I need to pull in some of my divine masculine. I know how to run a business. I know how. I've never ran a movement per se, but the path is math. Like, it's all about ins and outs, So as a single person, I'm prepared now. I'm ready. I know it's not like the alpha female, like checking off the box. I know what he's going to look like. I know how he's going to be. It's not that. I know energetically who he is, because I've already, and this is going to sound super woo, but I've already met him in the 5D, like now I'm feeling, he's here in the 3D. And this year, I believe I will end up meeting my divine masculine partner. But in relationship, and this is like the landing the plane, I know that he will have began the work also stepping into his divine feminine, because he will probably be a former alpha. Let's just say it. Like, he's probably going to be like a kick-ass, like,
it's going to have to happen.
Yeah. But he's going to have his reverse awakening that I had, like stepping into his divine feminine and having that balance. Because in order to hold space for somebody like me that is guiding the planet and humanity, and I'm not the only one, there's many people that are like me that are being called to do even more, and everyone matters. Everyone. But in this, I call it like a little bit more of a responsibility because I'm like the old lady in the room. I'm the oracle. I'm the old lady because of my historical, just experience. I have the capacity to hold more. So I'm being called to do that, and I'm signed up. Yes, this is what I'll be doing till I leave my body. This man is going to have to hold space for somebody like me. And in order to do that, he's going to have a balance of knowing when to lean in to take care of me, and then also to lean out and give me space, because I do know how to take care of myself. And so that's what I feel is happening. Now, people that are in relationships, this is where I'm not that I'm grateful that David passed away, but I'm grateful for this part, that I'm not actually in a relationship where I've done this work and my partner is like, what the hell is happening to you? And they're slow to the uptake of like what's happening. Like, those relationships are taking a toll right now because the women are going first. And some men are like, I'm not signing up for this. I mean, they will come eventually, but they may not out the gate. And so there's going to be a lot of breakups. And I've been divorced before. I'm not opposed to that, because if you can't alchemize as a man and a woman in this new world that we're creating, then yeah, you're going to have to split up, because females that are being called to guide need a man that can step into his masculine and divine. And when I say divine, I mean God. True source. I don't mean anything else. I mean like a God that will gut somebody, and I'm not advocating for violence, but I'm saying like, I got you.
Yeah.
And if you think about that, like if you're having a global presence, there's a lot that I'm going to actually want from a partner.
Well, and I think that they have to feel whole themselves in order to not feel like you're the masculine in the relationship.
Well, and that's my whole point, is they're going to have gone through their awakening of divine masculine, divine feminine, so that they won't have, it's not a pissing contest.
And if they hadn't done the work, it would be a pissing contest, is my point.
Oh, yeah. And like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I know my person. And I'm not signing up for somebody that hasn't actually begun the work. They don't have to be finished, but they have to have started.
Right. Be somewhere on the line of, I know myself and I love myself, and here's where I'm going.
Yeah. You said something that I haven't really touched on, and I think maybe you did a little bit, but the whole point is to love yourself unconditionally. And it's not selfish, it's selfless to model that behavior. And I am very much in love with myself in a way that I will not, and it's not settling, it's I know what is needed for my divine partnership in order to ignite what my purpose is.
I love listening to this conversation because it makes me really appreciate the partnership that I have with my husband, because granted, he's, he doesn't go to the places with me, but because that's just not his thing. But I don't need somebody there to hold my hand, though, because he supports me, and our relationship is super strong. He knows it. I know it. I know where I lack, he will pick up, and vice versa. And I'm so grateful to be in a relationship like that with somebody that supports everything I do and is secure enough in our relationship to where, you know, we have that partnership, and I know I will always be able to count on him to support me and, you know, always be there to lift me up. And it never would be that pissing contest because he knows who he is. I know who I am, you know, that type of thing. So it just makes me very, very grateful, you know, listening to this conversation to have what I have.
And as you should. So just stay in that gratitude. I just think it's so interesting too that I'm to the point now, and this is kind of tying up what the last conversation was about. I'm to the point where I'm not even like saying I want him to travel with me.
Yeah.
I'm opening up all portals. It could be like your husband. That isn't a non-negotiable for me. It's just so interesting to me, this new space that I'm in. And again, it's because I'm complete with myself.
Yeah, I love that. Talking about stepping into the fire horse with, you know, new mindset, new frame of mind, things like that. So you're stepping into this fire horse. You're already in motion. You've got several powerful collaborations forming. From your perspective, what makes these collaborations different from like your past seasons, and how do they reflect the kind of collective leadership that this year is calling forward for you and everyone else?
Yeah, I love this question because organically, these collaborations actually happened because of what we just talked about. Same thing with collaborations. I didn't force it. They happened so organically, and some fell away, and then some just it feels like a ride or die. And I know that we won't collaborate the rest of our lives together, but as we separate from this first journey of collaborations, it's going to be like, how can I promote yours? How can I cheer you on? How can I support you? Like, it's that kind of collaboration versus the old way of competition, where it's like, how can we promote both events? In these collaborations, we're all seeing this as an ascension where we're rising. All tides raise all ships, that saying, high tide raises all ships. Yeah. That, you know, it's a we, it's not a me or an I. And so that's the difference between the collaborations that I have. And there's still some people in the healing space, in the ascension space, that are not healed enough because they had wounds from prior collaborations that really burnt them. And I come over from the frame of a high achiever with collaborations my entire life. There's hardly anything that I did alone. I was always collaborating. So I know how to do it right. And so when I bring that over, and then I'm drawing in all these other beautiful humans that have that same mindset of like, it's not like a column where it's like, what are you doing versus what I'm doing? It's like, how can I serve to make sure that this collaboration is successful? And it's never a like, well, I did this, so what are you doing? It's just because of where we're coming from. And so that's the difference with the collaborations as far as like that goes. It's a very healthy, high energy, high frequency collaboration. And then what we're bringing to the collaborations are all different, which I love also. One is business focused. One is internal, like do the nervous system work, because that's where it all starts. It starts with neutralizing your nervous system in any situation. So like, you learn now how to, I just lost my mom November 20th. I allowed all the feelings, I allowed all the emotions, but I also knew how to neutralize my nervous system. So it was like this beautiful duality of when David died versus my mom. And my mom was my person. Like my mom was like even more than David. And I was able to look at that and go, wow, I really have learned the skill set of neutralizing my nervous system. And the other one is, you know, awakening the light within, like your purpose. Like, what are you here for? Like Thylene said, like, is this it? There has to be something more. That's what this event is for. So you're going to step into your authentic self, awaken the light within, and then you may do a business. You may just expand your light because you're walking around freaking loving yourself and enjoy. Like, what could not be more exciting than that? So those are the collaborations that I have so far. I feel like I answered the question in that way.
So you were talking about like your mom and some of your loss. And so that leads me to my next question, which is you've lived the death and rebirth of identity through profound loss. And how has grief reshaped the way that you now build, lead, and create?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think what going through what is the 9 stages in Infinity Wheel of Grief to Freedom, which is taught in the Cocoon Butterfly, which both of you guys have spoken at that event. You're very familiar with it. I think what it did is it gave me, I consider it a superpower. So like anything that comes my way, like I'm being audited by the IRS. That would have like struck me down. Like you talk about like a loss of a spouse and a wife and then getting, or a mother, and then getting like audited by the IRS. Like what else could be thrown my way? You know, and now I'm looking at like, oh yay, I get to learn more about finances. Yes. Like, you know, because even though, yeah, at first I was a little bit scared, like, oh, and the year after David died, like that was the year I was literally asleep, like not awake, didn't give a flying F about anything, and made an F ton of money, like a lot, and did not care, could care less. Yeah. So it was like the worst year to be audited also. Now, to answer the question is I feel like the skill set that I learned after David died with those 9 stages, I can now alchemize and understand that everything, to include every relationship, is just showing me more about myself to fall more and more deeply in love with who I am. So some will show up childhood wounds. Some will show up, even I have limiting beliefs, like the limiting belief when I got audited by the IRS. Like, I don't understand some of this stuff. Like my mom was my money person forever. I know how to build businesses and systemize them, but she did all the bookkeeping. And then for the businesses that David and I learned or had together, like he did the bookkeeping. So these are things that I think have proven that I've used those learned skills, and it actually I've learned them for the better, like for my entire life now. I don't want to ask for things, but I don't think there's anything that I cannot handle. I mean, besides which I don't want to put out into the ethers, but like there's only one other thing that would be worse of a death that I could experience besides my husband and my mother. And I hope to God that never happens to me. But if it does, I have the skill set to be okay with it. I'm not saying it will be easy, but I just, yeah. And I think that is a gift that David gave to me that I am always grateful for every single day, that through his choice of staying where he was at and allowing me to have the space, and then I had the freedom of choice to do what I did. It ended up being, I mean, I think that David saw this. I think he saw this as a potential way for me to live. And he was like, yep, this is what I want to give.
I'm chuckling a little bit because I remember right after David passed away and you were so excited because you figured out how to use the water machine and, and you cooked scrambled eggs. You're like, guys, I did it. I learned how to use the water filtration system.
The Kangen water machine. That thing was not easy. Yeah, I was super stoked. And the eggs was the only thing that I could cook. I was super excited. Like whatever it was that I could, chicken, I don't know, something that normal people done probably.
And when you ordered Grubhub for the first time?
That was when he was in the hospital in Liverpool. I'm like, okay, anybody want to fly to Liverpool and have some food? Because I obviously don't know how to order food. I didn't know how to do Uber. I mean, you really learn a lot about your partner. Yeah, we traveled all around the world. Like I learned real quick what David's responsibilities were when I was like, oh, I don't even have the Uber app on my phone. What the heck?
So moving into what's coming up for this year. So let's talk about the Infinity Freedom. So you have a new offering launching on February 20th called the Infinity Freedom. So can you share what this transmission represents in the context of the Fire Horse year and how it supports people stepping into freedom that is embodied and sustainable and real?
Yeah, I'm so excited for this. This came as just a real big download and has shifted because I've left it open to receive to what it actually ended up being, which is so beautiful. So in a nutshell, what it is, because of my experience, because of my history of collaborations, being almost 55 years old, it's a one-stop shop for anyone to gain freedom. Now, obviously, the majority of it will be coming through entrepreneurship, but it doesn't have to be. And so you'll come into the space of the infinity freedom. We'll put you in kind of the ethers, the community. And then when you get through the process of what is true freedom to you, I will have a plan in place for you to actually execute and help you along the way to your freedom. So it's kind of like hiring, I don't know, like in the old days, like a business. It's a combination of a bunch. Like you'll have like, when you thought about buying a business in the 80s, let's say, or the 90s, you had to get like an accountant, you had to get like a bookkeeper, you had to get like, oh, there's a thumbs up. You had to get like a mentor, somebody that's done the business before. Like I'm the one-stop shop. And it's not because I'm the person, I'm the way so that you can find your way. And because of all of my connections and the variety of entrepreneurial experience that I've had, like I really didn't realize until I really started writing it down, like, holy crap, like I've created a ton of gross sales. So that 40 plus million, I mean, I didn't pocket all of it, obviously. The business has had to use some of that money to like build itself. But the whole point of that is like, I did not realize how much of an expert I am in a lot of different fields. And so that's what you get in Infinity Freedom is the knowledge that I come with, plus all of my connections and collaborations. If I don't know the way, so-and-so knows the way. And then the whole point is for you to find your way. Because I think 90s, 2000s, it was like, here's your structure, here's the path. We all learn differently. Hello, like that should have been proven out the gate. That's wrong. But it took us a long way to get here, that we're all sovereign beings. And your path, Emmy, is going to be a little bit different than Tylene's path, which is different than mine. But the point is once you step into what I believe is the holy grail of systems, once you check those system boxes off, then the path is your path. Like it's so easy to find your path. So that's the Infinity Freedom that I'm so excited. And the 20th is such a beautiful day too. I'm not going to give it away. I actually want people to like try and figure this out. But February 17th is the new year, Firehorse year, but February 20th is very big in astrology. And I had no clue. And when I was told by, my guides, people that, are listening are like, what are you talking about guides? So yes, I get channeling. Like David talks to me all the time too. I was told February 20th and I was like, well, that's interesting because the new year is February 17th. Maybe I need like 3 days in the new year. And so then when I started researching, I was like, oh, it makes so much sense. So if you have chat or Google, like ask, what is the importance of the astrological, like DNA of February 20th? And then that will just have a whole nother new meaning to the Infinity Freedom.
I need to do that because now I'm curious. We haven't had this conversation, so I don't know.
What I love about it, because when you're in the woo space, sometimes even you are like, is this real? And then you just get like that. I don't know what caused me to like look and see what is going on February 20th. But when I did, it was a couple months ago, because this came to me a couple months ago, like this is going to be your launch date is February 20th. I'm like, all right, I don't question anymore. I just do it. I'm very confident in like what I'm being told. And I have a very good internal body connection that I know if it's like good or not, if it's a yes or a no. And so I leaned into it and I was like curious. I'm like, I really want to know about this date. So yeah, it's very cool.
All right. Thank you, Alisa, for everything you've shared with us. It's been enlightening. I'm super excited to see what this new year holds. So before we get into how everybody can connect with you, the final question that we ask all of our guests. So the heart of I Am Her is becoming. So who is AlisaAnn becoming in this next chapter?
I think the conduit for everybody to come home to self, the energetic field. And I'm modeling that for everybody.
Yeah. And you're doing a wonderful job, by the way.
I was going to say, we can see it.
Yes. Alisa, how can somebody find out more about the Infinity Freedom and how can they connect with you?
my personal email, alisa@alisaann.com. And then the Infinity Freedom, I mean, I'm going to plug you, Em. Like, she's developing the most dope website. I'm super excited.
It is pretty badass. Wait till you see it.
I can't wait.
Em, I got this download of what it looks like. I don't even know if it's possible, but this is what it is. And then she's like, all right, I'm on it.
Okay, well, let's move into the final section of our episode. This is her vibe check. So we're just going to go around robin and talk about our biggest takeaway from the episode today. So, Alisa, would you like to start us off?
No, I think my biggest takeaway is I'm just so excited and proud of you guys for this podcast. Like season 2, that's pretty awesome. Like I remember when you guys were talking about it and I was like, that's so awesome. Like I wanted to have a podcast for forever. I mean, hello, you guys did it and now you're on season 2. I haven't even started mine yet. That's my biggest takeaway is like, you go girls. That's awesome.
Okay, Thylene?
Oh, I think my biggest takeaway is like remembering that we are a collective, right? Hearing Alisa talk about her connection to herself and her connection to source and just how much change has already happened in the collective is inspiring. And I'm just really excited for moving forward into this next, like the Fire Horse year and seeing where all of us end up, because I feel like all of us have had so much growth. And I'm just excited to see where we end up. Like this is going to be a wild year for all of us. And I think we all need to prepare ourselves because I think it's going to blow up bigger than we could even anticipate. So I'm just excited and grateful. That would be a really big takeaway is just to remember to remain in a state of gratitude. A lot of what we've talked about today is no matter the pain or the situation that you go through is pulling out the things that you're grateful for and focusing in on the growth aspect. And yeah, I think that's my biggest takeaway. And that's something that whenever Alisa comes on, I feel like we always feel is like that bright light of remembrance, of love of self and gratitude.
Yeah. And I don't know if I said this episode, but everything we need is already within us. So this game of life, and I know some of us are going through a lot of pain, and especially if you're like knee deep in the stuff that's going on in the world right now, what David has always told me since he left his body is like, find the joy. And I was always a happy person, always looking at the silver lining, but I mean like really joy and being grateful that we're here at this time in the world is pretty badass. Like I'm a true believer that we signed up for this time. So like this transition that's happening in the world, we came here by choice. Now we are awakened to it, but I'm like so grateful that we all said yes and that we all got to meet each other and we're here together. Just, yeah, Fire Horse year as we, like a spider web, like I see a spider web, but like we're all coming together around the globe and creating this beautiful web and everybody's part matters. Like someone might have many of the web parts and some might have just this string, but they all matter. Everyone matters. And that's what I love about what's happening is the we and that part of the ascension. And yeah, I love that, Thylene. Yeah, definitely grateful. So grateful.
I am glad that you talked about the web and how everybody has a part, because what my biggest takeaway is that this year, at least for me, is to not recreate any sort of cage that I put myself in before. I know that I have value and I know that I have worth. And in my opinion, even if what I do can help one person, that person will then go help somebody else. And then that person will go help somebody else. So it can start so small. But if I put myself in a position to where I don't let myself expand, then it's, what am I here for? So that's my biggest takeaway, is just to remember that we all matter, and no matter how small we might see ourselves sometimes, the ripple effect that we can have is so great. I just think of throwing a pebble in the water. It might seem like a small pebble, but the ripple that it puts out is so much greater.
Such a beautiful sentiment. And I see that a lot too. Like I think about that, exactly that, like the pebble in the water, and then watching the ripples go all the way out. So that's a really good takeaway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for sticking with us. And you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform. And until next time, just remember, somewhere a lion in a Hawaiian shirt is cheering you on. Bye, everybody.
Bye.